All right, there we go.
Check 1, check 2.
I can hear you, David.
Thanks.
Okay, it looks like we got everybody. So
Get out of here, guys. You're gonna be able to see you.
you're unmuted.
I know I'm not. I know I am. I'm not worried about it. It's my kids are crawling all up in the space.
Ah, awesome. All right, everybody ready to go?
Sure.
Yes, love your background.
Thank you, America. All right, we got everybody here, so I will call our open session meeting to order at 6:13. I'm sorry we're a little late, everybody. Our closed session took a little bit longer. We didn't have any reportable action items from the closed session. Trinity, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'm not sure you guys are streaming to Facebook right now. It doesn't indicate on the screen that you're streaming.
No.
We aren't. Are we
You
getting
are.
close?
Nope.
Just a heads up.
Okay.
Break.
Are we going to be able to make that happen?
Look here.
We're working on it, Mayor.
Okay.
In the meantime,
Yeah, try dropping your video.
Yeah, it just takes a few minutes once you get the.
I'll start it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
but if you guys are ready, I can go ahead and get started on the pledge.
Yes, please.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Trinity. All right. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Sure. Councilmember Mendoza,
Here.
Ackerman,
Present.
Burris,
Present.
Fatula,
Aye.
and Mayor Loman.
Here. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda order?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Sure. Councilmember Mendoza,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Fatula,
Aye.
and Mayor Loman.
Thank you. All right. Move on to item 3, agency reports. Sergeant Griffiths, are you online with us? Or...
Mayor, I'm not seeing Sergeant Griffiths on here. I know Chris Nave is on.
All right, then we'll go ahead and go on to CHP. Officer Nave, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi there, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Took me a while to figure this out. So Ty's gone, correct?
Yeah. We just had
Okay, we got a new one. It's good to be back. Again, Officer Chris Nave, California Highway Patrol, Gold Run area. Just some things to report. Excuse me, so I can see what I'm doing here. So with the COVID pandemic, we've had, we did a study that was done by the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So even with fewer people driving on the road the first 6 months of the pandemic, we have seen a surge in reckless driving, leading to an uptick in fatal crashes. So the report doesn't indicate why these are happening, but the highway deaths are up during the first 9 months of 2020. During the COVID pandemic, we had over 28,190 people died in car accidents, an increase of 4.6%, which is higher than the same period 2009 by 2,000 plus. Our seatbelt usage from our studies has fallen; it's decreased. So that is on the decline. So before the pandemic was about 70%. Now it's around 71%. So with that, we've had in our collisions, we've had more ejections, people ejected from vehicles. So, and then the big thing that we've found out is through our studies that the average speed has increased by 22%. So we've had an increase in fatal collisions, severe injury collisions, ejections, and DUIs are on the uptick, especially with marijuana. So, and opioids, excuse me. So, this is something that we are addressing or looking to address. So, when the pandemic began, we had less traffic. It seems to be increasing now, but again, we've had an increase, and I think you guys have probably noticed it. We've had an increase in the speeds on the roadway and the reckless driving. We're getting more calls, highway violence type incidents. So we are looking to try to curb that a little bit. There's no reason why that we've determined as to why these things are happening. But we've noticed the trend in our area, the Colfax, Gold Run, Alpha area. The speeds were hovering around 75, 80 miles an hour, that sort of thing. Lately, the uptick is they are climbing towards 85, 90, even 100 miles an hour, and it's a very common thing. So, we address that, but like every other law enforcement agency right now, our manpower is really low. So, but that is a concern of ours, and we are, again, like I said, working to get that to decline. We want to decrease the mileage death rate. I don't know if you guys have followed lately, but we have had a lot of fatals in our area from what we normally have. So again, we want to decrease that. The other issue we're trying to address is, as we've talked about with Mr. Heathcock several times, is the chain control. It's that time of year we get chain control up. Colfax gets saturated with traffic when we have chain control set up at Colfax, or when we're turning vehicles at Colfax. So again, with the invention of GPS, everyone's trying to dump off at the Colfax, take the back roads. Now we're clogging up Rollins Lake, and as people try to get around chain control. So we're trying to get the social media message out there that you can't get around chain control. There's no frontage roads once you hit Baxter. People hit Baxter, and they got to turn around and go back to Colfax. So again, we're trying to address that. We get numerous complaints from the folks in the Alta area that the roads are congested, that and people are blocking driveways, leaving their trash, urinating on the side of the road, that sort of thing. So that is an ongoing problem that we have every winter. And then finally, the other big issue in our area right now that we deal with the weather here now is since COVID, people can't go to the movies. They can't do the things they normally do. So what are they doing? They're traveling to the mountains. They're going to play in the snow parks, which has caused a massive increase in the amount of people that are up here that want to play in the snow. In the meantime, they're clogging up the on and off ramps, which is blocking emergency personnel from getting to and from locations, as well as we have the problem with people sledding on the freeway or sledding onto the freeway, that sort of thing. People just stopping wherever they want to stop to play in the snow. we are trying to encourage folks to use the snow parks. And if those are full, then find somewhere else. So we will keep pushing that social media agenda, trying to get people to be smart and safe. So we don't have to keep dealing with it. I mean, trying to get a fire truck through on an on-ramp where everything's blocked is very difficult, and it puts it's a safety risk. So we want to keep those clean. As far as everything else, it's been everything seems to be status quo for this time of the year. Just the weather. We got another storm coming in, so we are anticipating having to deal with that. So everything else seems to be a-okay. You guys have any questions for me about anything?
Just happy to see you and have you in the meeting tonight. Thanks, Chris. Stay
Yeah,
safe out there.
I do the best I can to try to make them. We are short-staffed, and so guys are being pulled every direction right now. But it's not just specific to Gold Run. It's every office right now. And
Yeah,
so yeah, I will be here as much as possible. I enjoy these. I enjoy listening to what's going on. So thanks for having me.
thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions from council? All right. Chiefs, do you want to go ahead and do the fire department agency report?
Yeah, Mayor Loman, good evening. The council, Brian Estes, County Fire Chief. I've actually got Sergeant Griffiths from the SO in my office here at County Fire Headquarters with Chief Egan. So I'm going to turn it over, if you don't mind, Mayor, to Sergeant Griffiths. He'll take the chief's chair and do the SO report, and then Brian can follow up right after that if you're good.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. It's good to see everybody sort of in person, even though it's, I've got a new dashboard that I asked Shauna to see if she could load up. I'm not sure if she's able to do that or not. Kind of a new way of doing things. But as far as the sheriff's office is concerned, we had 213 incidents within the city of Colfax last month. 15 of them were suspicious and 6 were disturbance calls, along with 22 alarm calls. There were 101 deputy initiated calls for service out of those 213. So where the deputies actually making those traffic stops or whatnot. And we had 41 traffic stops. Nothing major, nothing serious in Colfax. Not really a lot to report. As CHP said, the freeway starts to get backed up. It drops a lot of people in, and we had deputies out there trying to work with the traffic control on those city streets that were affected by that. Other than that, I've got nothing else to report. Is there anybody who's got questions for us?
Yeah. All right. Well, hearing none. Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
Oh, good evening, members of the council, members of the audience. Brian Egan, Cal Fire Battalion Chief, Colfax Alta Battalion, the city of Colfax. Yep, it looks like she got your graph up in time. So my report this evening will be relatively short. Engine 37, the engine that's our type 1 engine, it's been out of service the last 4 weeks, just came in back in service late this afternoon. It's back in quarter station 37. It turned out to be a pump shift switch that they were able to change out after doing a lot of searching through the wiring for that. So that's back in service. Rescue 36, our rescue vehicle that had the wiring harness damage about 6 months ago, is experiencing another electrical problem related to the airbag. So it's going to be going down to the same shop to have that vetted out and see if we can find out if that's something new or if that's something that was left over from that wiring damage and it's just now surfacing. And the only other item, this is related to the North Fork American River Shaded Field Break. That's a continuing process. We're in year 3 of that project. Still doing some initial treatment on a little bit of land that's left on the neighboring piece of property to the south of the wastewater treatment plant. But beginning this week, the engines from Station 30 were beginning to burn piles along Iowa Hill Road, below Wagon Trail. A number of the piles that were left over from the initial fuels treatment a year and a half ago, we're getting some of those piles burned up. And so they'll be over the next several months, really, based on weather and our burn window. The crews will be in there burning piles off and on over the course of the weeks. So with that, I don't have anything else. Any questions?
Doesn't sound like it. Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that report. Have a great night. All right. Did we have a chamber representative or anyone that wanted to speak for the service center or anything on tonight, Wes?
I think I see Sally's phone number on there. Sally, can you hear us?
Yeah, I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, Sally.
Great. Well, hi. Thank you, Mayor Lohman. Thanks for everybody for having me. I've got some great things to report, some exciting things. So our chamber has been working really hard since Christmas on a Placer County collaborative grant for our small businesses. And this one we made unique. They allowed us to make our own rules. So we have been working really hard, calling just a huge list of small businesses going all the way from Meadow Vista to Nyack, basically, huge area. We've pinpointed certain sectors of the economy that have been hardest hit by COVID. And in those sectors, for instance, retail and restaurants being a couple of them, we've located over 60 small businesses that we have been hand delivering simple grant applications to. And we've gotten most of those in. The deadline is February 15th. And we're going to hand deliver them to the Small Business Council in Auburn, and they're going to write the checks for us. And we'll be handing out that grant money within a couple of weeks, we hope. So that'll probably be about $2,000 per business. In this process, we've heard a lot of really sad stories. A lot of small businesses, here in Colfax and in the area saying, if one thing goes wrong, my stove breaks, I'm in trouble. I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's been a really heartfelt journey for us, contacting businesses that have never actually applied for a grant before, even though there have been many over the last year. It's been very hard. They've had to go online and find the applications, and it's been a difficult process. A lot of them haven't even known about it. So we're pretty proud to be doing that. And one part of the grant, the way we wrote it, is we've received funds to provide outdoor dining for our restaurants here in Colfax. So within the next couple of weeks, you're going to see canopies go up. They'll have heaters in the restaurants, in a few of them, for instance, on Main Street in front of Grandma C's and the basement. We're going to have a couple of large canopies, furnaces, and we're also going to provide split rail fencing for added safety, and it should look pretty nice. So we are ordering the materials now, and so you'll see that pretty soon. On a different, there's also one more grant that the city, I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but in addition to this, we found that we were very limited into who we could give this grant money to. And most of the nonprofits out there weren't eligible, but the Colfax Cares extension, the Colfax Cares grant is still available and is available to small business and to nonprofits. So that's available on the city website. On a different note, we as a chamber are going to have our annual board of directors elections either in March or April. And so we are actively looking to add a couple of new directors to our board. So if any of you know someone who would like to get involved in the community and would like to maybe attend one of our meetings and see how it goes, we're just looking for somebody that has the time, that really wants to get involved. So if you know anybody, have them contact us at the chamber or give us a name and we'll contact them ourselves. And that's, I think that's about it for us.
All right, great. Thank you, Sally. That's great to hear. Thank you so much for you and Chamber's hard work to make sure our businesses are taken care of.
Oh, we're having a lot of fun. Thank you.
Sounds like it, yeah. Look forward to meeting with you next week, hopefully.
You bet.
All right. Do we have any other city representatives on the line, Wes, that you know of?
I do have a question.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
My bad. Sally, thanks. Quick question. I was at the dry cleaners, local business, a week or two ago. Long story short, they're kind of out of touch with technology, don't really have internet. The guy told me all that. I gave him information. I have no idea if they even swung by to apply for the grant. But long story short, my question is, in general, how do we and who would reach out to businesses that just don't have access, I guess, to the technology that we assume that every business does have for these grants, for example?
That's a great question. And that's why this grant that we've been working so hard on is special. All the other grants that have come about have been really overlooking businesses such as the dry cleaners. Older people and just really a lot of business owners, they don't have time. They don't have time to go online and navigate those lengthy applications. There will be more of those. There's a lot of federal money that will be coming down to, Placer County in the coming months. But the one that we're working on now, and we'll do it again if we have that opportunity in the future, we're hand walking them in. So we've been there. I believe we have the application already for them, and we're walking them through it. We made the simplest application we could that could be filled out by hand, and Tim Ryan, particularly Randy Ely and Amy Andrews have been out there just killing themselves, going in person to the businesses, helping them fill out the forms and walking them through.
I just want to say that's awesome. And even the report on the covered dining downtown, that's great as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks again, Sally.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I think that was the end of our agency report. So we had no presentations tonight, no public hearings. Move on to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are routine in nature and will be approved with one blanket motion and a council vote. Does anybody have anything they want to pull from the consent calendar for discussion?
Nope.
All right, great. Can I get motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
I get a second? Okay, I second. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Mendoza,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Petula,
Joe's having technical difficulties. He had to log off and log back on. It looks like he just jumped back on. Joe, can you hear us? Madam Clerk, it appears he's still having technical difficulties.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it appears that Councilmember Fatula is still having technical difficulties.
Okay, no problem.
There
So in the vote, my last one, Mayor Lohman.
Aye. All right. Sorry. All right. Great. Consent calendar approved. we'll move on to item 7, public comment. Did we receive any public comment on any of the platforms or prior to the meeting?
I don't show any public comment at this time.
Okay. Do we have anybody on the line that would like to make public comment? Okay. All right. Hearing none, we can move on to council and staff reports. Joe, do you want to start?
Mr. Mayor, again, Joe's having computer issues.
Okay.
Come circle back.
All right. David, do you have anything for the council report?
Nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Marnie?
Hi, yes, Mayor, give me 1 second.
No problem.
I have to get to that. Where is it? Give me 1 moment, sorry. Okay. My reports. Okay, so I've been working with the Colfax Pharmacy downtown, and we are just waiting for the county to release the vaccines, and we will have local vaccines available for our seniors or anybody with medical conditions. So when that happens, I'll let you know, but we're maybe a week out. We're a little bit behind, but I want everybody to know that I started this process maybe a month ago. So again, it's just the supply demand and waiting for the release of OES. Michael's been really good with communication, so that's coming down the pike. And then the other thing that I want to report is today on the 174 at Hickey's Auto Body, there was a theft that took place, and I seen this post up and I'm just really upset because it's like our small businesses are having a hard enough time and then this happened. So I just want to for anybody that's on the line, if anybody's seen anything, it is a Ford Ranger with an extra cab, an older Ford Range. There is a picture that is posted up on Facebook. No license plate number, but there was a theft that took place at that business, and that's just really unfortunate. And so I just wanted to make note of that. And then also earlier while we were on the call, this is from Humboldt County, but there is 3 homicide suspects that are on the run, and they were seen in Auburn. They're driving a white Toyota 2008 Highlander, license plate number 6CDG202. Colfax is a small community. We all stick together. So let's all keep an eye out so that these things can get channeled through our Placer County sheriffs. Thank you. That's all I have to report.
All right. Thank you, Marnie. Trinity, do you have anything to report tonight?
Not a whole lot. I did have our initial subcommittee meeting at SACOG for policy and innovation. We went over a lot of diversity and inclusion. A lot of those topics, and are we having some weird audio feedback? Does anyone else hear that?
I hear it, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Weird, okay. Sorry, aside from that, I don't have a whole lot to report from that meeting. And my air quality control, the air pollution control district board meeting is actually tomorrow, so nothing to report on that just yet. I did want to mention, I've been working with Colfax Green Machine, and they're going to be hosting their crab feed this year. Sorry. They're going to be hosting their crab feed this year, but it's going to have okay, that was really weird.
I think we're getting feedback on Joe's computer. He's got 2 computers up right now, and I think it's doing feedback. Joe, if you can hear me, can you close out one of the computers, please?
Yeah, and
I'm trying to, give me a second.
Okay, sorry, it was
So,
just,
Pro Tem, can you start over again with, you've been working with the green machine, because that's all I heard.
okay. Just working with the Green Machine, keeping updated on, their whole fundraising effort and events they've got coming up. They are going to be hosting their crab feed this year, which is great news, especially because, several of the other crab feeds that everyone looks forward to every year that support our youth and our high school programs and, many other things that we look forward to in town have unfortunately been canceled. But, they came up with a creative solution, kind of a drive-through crab feed where you're going to be able to pull up. You're going to get 2 pounds of crab, shrimp cocktail, pasta, salads, bread, dessert, and then you can also get wine and mixed drinks to go as well. So you could take the party back home and you don't have to find a babysitter. So that'll be a lot of fun. Tickets are $50 as they usually are. And that is going to be on March 20th. Pickup will be from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Sierra Vista Center. And tickets are available on Eventbrite. I do have a copy of the flyer, so I'll make sure that we get that circulated on the city website and, in various methods so that everyone can see where to buy tickets. But if you're confused, you can always reach out to Andrea or stop by the community center. I'm sure anybody at the community center will know, how to get you in touch too. On that note, with the community center, there are 2 positions available on the board now. And I know that they are actively looking for new board members. So if anybody is interested in joining the Sierra Vista Community Center board, there are 2 positions open, and now would be a great time to go in and inquire. And that's all I've got.
All right, thanks, Trinity. Joe, are you back with us?
Yeah, I am. I don't know. How's my sound?
Oh, okay, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll do what I want to cover under the good of the order.
Okay, great. And for me, I don't have really much to report tonight. I was on the county COVID call and still waiting on 100% verification for when we're getting vaccines for our area that'll go out to more than just a couple of select companies that have them in hospitals. Hopefully in the next week or 2 was what I'd heard, and looking for hopefully a larger rollout after that sometime mid to late spring still, where they might start increasing the list of people that can get the vaccine. Still a little bit up in the air though. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report. Wes, would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item I want to touch on tonight and give an update on. You mentioned previously, we have an opportunity to apply for a Caltrans planning grant. This planning grant will take the concept where we just did the rural downtown design concept for North Main and take it to the next level, which would create a 30% design out of it. So one of the key things I want to point out is this grant will also do additional outreach so we can refine kind of the scope of what the work would look like. The applications are due Friday. Staff is ready to submit the application. The total grant amount is somewhere in the tune of $230,000. This will give us the opportunity to be ready if there is some construction funding that comes available in the future to make the project that we've started a real project, and we can realize it for the improvements for the downtown. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Wes. All right, we will, that's all the reports, so we will go on to council business. Item 9A is our audit report for fiscal year ending June 2020. Wes, do you want to give the introduction?
I'm gonna give that pleasure over to Lori Van Groningen, our finance director, who's worked really hard on this to introduce our auditing team and give us the report.
Great.
Good evening, council, mayor. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. It is that time of year again when we get to have a presentation on our annual financial statements. We are required by state law to be audited annually by external auditors that are certified public accountants. And we procure and contract with CPA firms licensed by the state of California to perform the financial audits. Obviously, in addition to the state law requirement, there's benefits to us internally. The audit tells us a lot of different things. It provides assurance that the city financial statements are not misstated and that the reports are reliable. It highlights any weaknesses in the city practices and procedures which might affect the financial statements. And it ensures that all required information is disclosed. This is the 11th financial audit process that I've been involved with the city. And I mentioned last year that you would think that it would get easier with time. And I mentioned last year that last year's was probably the most difficult due to the many projects and increased activities in the city. The accounting structure and reporting has just greatly increased in complexity. And I would say that this year is right up on par with last year. Also, it was also a challenging year, and obviously because of the COVID requirements and a lot of remote working. I did want to give a shout out to our accounting technician, Shanna Stahl. She has taken on more responsibilities each year, and we just would not have this audit report without her support and her hard work. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Brian Nash. He's the partner with Richardson and Company Corporation, and they have worked with us for many years. We went out for bid this past spring. We were due to go out for bid, and their firm was chosen again. And with that, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lori. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so as Lori mentioned, we rotated audit partners this year. That was a requirement under the California Government Code because my partner had done 6 consecutive audits. So I took a close look at all of the accounting and all of the controls as we typically do when you rotate partners. So I kind of gave you a fresh look. I think I drove Lori a little bit crazy with all the questions that I asked, that things that my partner may have already known, or things I looked into a little deeper. She was really helpful and really accommodating, so I appreciated her help. The 2020 audit was the year of the roundabout project. It really affected many areas of the audit. As Lori mentioned, the grant accounting can really be difficult. It adds to the workload of all the staff, anybody who works on it. If you add up the time it spends doing the application, sometimes you have to do 2 or 3 applications before the state is happy. State or the federal government, whoever's taking it. I think you went through the state this time, answering their questions and reporting to them regularly. And then here at the end of the audit, we ended up doing what's called a single audit, which is a compliance audit of all of the activity that was paid for with the federal grant. So if you have a federal grant, which there's about $1 million, a little over $1 million of federal money into the project, you have to do a compliance audit called a single audit. So that was additional work this year that we had to do that added to Lori's workload. So you should have the audited financial statements, and you should have a letter that we issued. It says governance letter right under our letterhead. The governance letter is all of the required disclosures to a governing body, such as a city council, under audit standards. So we issued inside of the financial statements, we issue internal control and compliance reports. We have to touch on any laws, rules, and regulations as part of our audit. As I mentioned, we had a compliance audit called a single audit of the federal money. And so there's additional reports in the financial statements due to that audit. And we also look at the appropriations limit. We do agreed upon procedures over the appropriations limit calculation that the city council approves. So we did that this year as well. And so those are all of the reports that we issue. So our opinion in the front of the financial statements is an unmodified or clean opinion. There's additional wording you'll see if you compared the 2 years, you'll see additional wording, which is related to that single audit, that compliance audit of the federal money. In the front of the financial statements, right behind our opinion, you'll see what's called management's discussion and analysis. If you just have a short amount of time to look at the financial statements, that's a good place to start because it's an executive summary. It goes through all the major changes, gives you tables, a condensed table, and it shows all the changes that occurred and explains those. I'll touch on some of those tonight. There was an agenda that I prepared, and it has a few of the numbers in there, a few of the changes that occurred. I'll kind of go over those. On page 14 of the financial statements, there's what's called the government-wide financial statements. And there's 2 columns. There's governmental activity, which is where your general fund is and your special revenue funds, as well as the capital projects fund. And then there's a business type activity column. That's your sewer fund. The revenues exceeded expenses by 3.7 million during 2020. And you'll see in the agenda there's the categories of net position at the bottom and the changes. You'll see that the investment in fixed assets really increased, and that was largely due to those grant funded projects, the largest being the roundabout project. The restricted funds decreased just a little bit, about 89,000 to 1.3 million. The unrestricted and designated category, which includes your reserves for operating capital and pension, increased 50,000 to 695,000. And the unrestricted unassigned category increased 298,000 to 1,988,000. So the roundabout project, if you look at the balance sheet compared to the previous year, it increased capital revenue, it increased fixed assets, and the investment in fixed assets. So it had kind of far-reaching effects on a lot of the areas of the financial statements. The general fund revenues. So the general fund is the fund that you budget. The general fund revenues exceeded the budget by 375,000. There's higher taxes and development fees that exceeded the budget. And then the expenses exceeded the budget by 141,000. And that was in the public safety and capital outlay, the purchase of fixed assets. Those are the 2 areas that were over budget. And I believe you approved some increases or changes in that safety contract, which accounts for that change. These amounts are reflected as unrestricted and unassigned fund balance in the general fund. So the general fund, it's on page, I'm looking at page 14 of the financial statements, the general fund column, that's your main operating fund. And you'll see at the bottom there, the fund balances. If you add up the committed line and the unassigned line, that's $2,574,000. And so you guys were sitting in a pretty good position at the end of June. That's 131% of expenses in the general fund that year. So that's a pretty good reserve to have. There's a lot of cities that would love to be in that position. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends at least having 3 months of reserves, so 3 months of expenses in reserve, and it could be higher than that if you have a lot of capital expenses or other one-time expenses, like if you have to cover grant expenses, for example. So that would be a good reason to have higher reserves, because you do have some grants where you have to cover some expenses until you get those reimbursements. The inside of the unrestricted, there's a $695,000 of designated funds that the council designated the funds for operating capital, operating contingencies, capital, and pension costs. So that's included as part of that unassigned balance. That's 2.3 million. So the business type activities, which is the sewer fund activities, exceeded expenses by 613,000. And if you look at the net position, the equity at the bottom, the largest piece is the investment in fixed assets. that didn't increase much, only about 48,000 to 10,049,000. So you wouldn't be able to spend that unless you sold those assets. Restricted fund includes debt service reserve funds, so funds that you're required to have on hand to pay future debt service payments under those debt agreements. And then insurance and capital funds, that went up 203,000 up to 1,158,000. So the insurance, there's an insurance payment that was received for future wastewater treatment plant expenses. That's what that amount is. And then there's some capital grants that haven't been spent. The unrestricted category increased 100,000 to 525,000. That includes council reserves for operations and capital purposes. And then the unrestricted unassigned category increased 262,000 to 1.54 million. And doing the same thing that I did for the general fund, looking at the sewer fund, the unrestricted net position is 1.6 times the expenses, not including depreciation, because you pay for that out of the capital reserve fund. So not including depreciation, it's 1.6 times your expenses, which is also a pretty good position to be in. You have lots of needs to have cash on hand, so I don't think that is anywhere near unreasonable. You have those large grants that you still are receiving for the wastewater treatment plant. So that is a good position to be in to cover those things. So the sewer fund revenues exceeded the budget due to unbudgeted connection fees that were received, as well as a planning grant that wasn't budgeted for the wastewater treatment plant. Personnel and O&M costs were lower than budget. In the sewer fund, you can see in the sewer fund, there's also a footnote on page 36 of the financial statements. You'll see that there's long-term liabilities. There's debt of $7,562,000. That's to fund the sewer system upgrades in the past. There's also an unfunded pension liability, which is not very large. It's kind of nominal at $117,000. Most governments have pension liabilities that are larger than that. And also many cities and other types of governments have what's called OPEB benefits, post-retirement healthcare benefits. And it's notable that the city doesn't have any of those benefits. That's kind of unusual for a city. So that's.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
So I'm just looking at your chart that's up on the screen here right now. And you probably want to rephrase that line. It says lack of retiree health benefits is notable for a city. It's not lack of the benefits that's notable. It's lack of the amount that we still owe.
Well, no, you don't have any post-retirement healthcare benefits that you provide. There's no liability recorded.
Right.
So the retiree, excuse me?
But it just said, the statement said lack of retiree health benefits is notable. That sounds like a negative, not a positive.
Well, I'm trying to say that most agencies do have retiree healthcare benefits, and the city doesn't, which is a positive thing for the bottom line of the city.
Yep.
So that is what I'm trying to say. So if I phrased it a way that wasn't that great, I apologize for that.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, so in the footnotes to the financial statement, there is a new footnote on page 44 of the financial statement that discloses contract commitments. You'll see that there's a couple of contracts, one for the wastewater treatment plant and one for the general plan and housing element update. Those add up to about $588,000. So those are contracts that were in place at June 30 where the money had not been spent. That's a required disclosure. There's a subsequent event footnote. So things that hadn't hit the balance sheet as of the date we did our audit, the June 30 audit, things that were approved after June 30. Those included the Neelan Street pavement rehabilitation project agreement for about $162,000. I see that was on your agenda as just being completed. There was an agreement that was entered into in October that would allow a hotel developer to be reimbursed for road improvements up to $104,000. And then there was the design build agreement for the solar power collection system at the wastewater treatment plant in an amount not to exceed $1.9 million. So you guys are busy for a little city. Lots of things going on. So if you have any questions on the financial statements, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Brian, I'd just like to say thank you for this thorough explanation of your guys' audit.
Sure. I have a few more required disclosures to go. I was just stopping to see if you had any questions on what I just covered. So let me just get through the next few disclosures. Will not take that long. So as I mentioned, inside the financial statements, there's internal control and compliance reports where when we're reviewing internal controls that are used to support the financial statement numbers, as well as compliance with the grant agreements and other laws and regulations. We didn't have any internal control weaknesses, and we didn't have anything that we noted where the city didn't comply with any of the laws, regulations that existed that were material to the financial statements. One of the required disclosures is audit adjustments. We had very few audit adjustments. The city's books are very clean, and it's very difficult to do accounting for a city that has so many funds. If you look in the financial statements, there's multiple funds, and each one of those funds has to be balanced separately. So it's a lot of work, and there's lots of things that can go wrong. So having few audit adjustments, preparing a multi-fund set of financial statements like a city is really notable. We did have a few adjustments that we mentioned, but those are largely due to me being a new partner and taking a harder look at accounting and discussing how things are accounted for with Lori and deciding to maybe change something at the last minute. So really, there's nothing unusual in the accounting. The accounting is very clean. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit, and there's no unusual accounting practices. We didn't have, if we had any internal control recommendations, we'd have a management letter. We don't have to issue a management letter this year because we didn't find any issues that we needed to report to you. You have good controls in place. There are some prior year recommendations, and those had all been implemented. So we just didn't issue a management letter this year. And the appropriations limit that I briefly mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, there's the appropriations limit is a calculation the city has to do. There's a state law that says the appropriations to spend shouldn't outpace the change in the population and the change in the revenue that the population generates. So we have to review that calculation as part of our audit. And there was a change in that. We didn't find any exceptions in that report, but there was a change that increased the appropriations limit because the city hired a consultant to go back in time and change some of the assumptions that were used. And we looked at the report, we looked at the changes that were used in those assumptions, and we thought those made sense. The firm that did it is a very well thought of firm. So you can be sure that those changes were very good. So the appropriations limit really increased due to those changes. The appropriations limit was in the $2 million range, and now it's 5.6 million at the end of at the beginning of the year that we audited. So with that, that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Do we have any questions from council? I'll go down the line. Joe, do you have any questions?
No, this looked pretty good. The only thing I had was that one line that just the wording sounded funny on.
Okay, great. David?
Nope, I knew what you meant by the one line. Thank you for the report. Very thorough, nicely written. Thank you.
All right, Marnie?
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just really happy with this report. I like the way that it was all outlined in the presentation, and the pages are very clear. So I just want to say thank you to our finance director and to our hard worker, Shanna. Thank you guys. Really happy right now. Thank you.
All right, great. Trinity?
I don't have anything right now, and I'm about to call 911 because I think I might have just seen that vehicle. They've got a bolo on.
Uh-oh. All right, go get them. All right. I don't have any questions. Great audit report. Thank you very much, Brian, for that.
Sure.
And all your time checking our books. And I just want to say thank you very much, Laura and Shanna. Another amazing report and beautifully clean audit. Couldn't be happier. All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
I don't see any at this time.
Great. Thank you. Then we will move on to item 9B. Council committee assignment for the flood control district in Placer County. We recently got a request to rejoin. Wes, do you want to give a little bit of an explanation?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. And I think you kind of just touched on it. I mean, the staff report is pretty detailed. The city's been a part of the Placer County Flood Control and Water Conservation District since, I believe it's like 98. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why, somewhere in 2000, early 2000, the city stopped participating. Staff talking with the county staff, but as you see the list of benefits that we get out of here, out of this situation, staff is recommending that council appoint a member of its body to as the committee person for the district moving forward. The times that they meet are laid out in the staff report as well too. If you have any questions that are more in detail, I do have Brad Brewer and Ken Graham from the county here that can answer more detailed questions.
Okay, thanks. I guess we'll open it up for discussion. Joe, do you have any questions about the flood control district or our role on the committee?
About how much time is this going to require?
I think if I may answer, my name's Ken Graham. I'm with the Flood Control District. The Flood Control District for the Board of Directors meets monthly, or they have scheduled monthly meetings, but they essentially meet 5 to 6 times a year. Traditionally, it's on Monday afternoons, 4 o'clock. But for the last year, due to COVID, it's all been virtual, much like what you're doing today.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. David, any questions?
That was going to be my question. And thank you. Not any other questions at this time. Thanks.
All right. Marnie?
No, I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Trinity? Still with us?
Sorry, guys, I'm on the other line.
All right. Great. Ken, did you have anything you'd like to add as far as our role or anything?
I think really we appreciate your consideration of the item tonight. I think from our board's perspective, you guys have always remained, although you haven't been participating since about 2002, you've always been part of the group. I think the board has kind of said that they believe we're better when we're together, when we're working on common issues. And so they wanted me to reach out to your town or the city manager and talk about how, what we could do to get you guys coming on back and re-participating. I think you'll find there are some benefits. We do have 2 highly qualified with postgraduate degrees, folks that know drainage and are there to help you with any needs that come up, both community as well as regional.
Great. Thank you. My only comment was I'm happy to be the one to take this on. I kind of ended up somehow with the least amount of committee assignments. And I think for most of them, I'm even only the alternate on them. I don't know how I did that and worked that out, but we all approved that. So if nobody has any objections, I'm happy to take this on, and I'll make a motion.
I move to approve to appoint Sean, our Mayor Lohman, to this board.
I'll second it.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Sure, really quick, Mayor Lohman, I'm going to have you abstain from this vote. I believe this board has a stipend involved, so you cannot vote on your appointment.
Perfect. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Councilmember Mendoza?
Aye.
Ackerman?
Aye.
Burris?
Aye.
And Councilmember Fatula?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sean.
All right, yay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much for coming to our meeting tonight.
We look forward to talking. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. There was no public comment on this item either. I don't know if I asked that at the beginning. And we voted on it, so I guess it doesn't matter, but whoops.
There weren't any comments.
Okay, perfect. All right, we can move on to item 9C. We just wanted to have a discussion about the city use of Facebook and other social media sites. Mick, I have you on here to give a little bit of background.
Mick, are you online? Mayor, I'll go ahead and try to tackle this. It seems like Mick is having some technical difficulties. I think at the last meeting, there was asked in the good of the order for the staff to agendize using the social media form of Facebook so that the council could have a discussion as to whether or not they choose to do so, whether it's Facebook or other social media on there. So Mick has done a great analysis on here in response to our Mayor Pro Tem Burris's question whether or not we can or cannot disallow the Facebook at this time. According to Mick, it's totally up to council's pleasure. So staff is here to answer any more detailed questions after you guys' discussion and decision on how you would like to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Wes. Joe, you brought this item up. Do you want to kick off the discussion?
Sure. My issue with this was a real simple one. Since several people in the community, including people that are involved with council and all, have been blocked by Facebook, the question is whether or not this is a useful tool for us when it is over issues of basically freedom of speech. So how can you use a system that supports lack of freedom of speech when we're trying to do communication? And then if we have it in place, then it puts people at a disadvantage who've been blocked. So I can understand the struggle both ways. You'd like to use it as a tool, but if the tool is blocked from certain people using it, then that's a problem. So that was my issue. It says, should we be using it at all, especially for meetings and stuff while we're doing this stuff on Zoom that everybody can get access to? Because if you can access Facebook, you're on the internet, therefore you can access Zoom. So when we're using Zoom, there's no issue.
Mayor Lohman, do you mind if I make some comments?
Yeah, and I have some comments as well.
Go ahead.
So I do want to point out a couple things just to kind of, I understand where Joe's coming from and his frustration with Facebook and their internal policies and the way that they choose to conduct business. And I can understand how some of that's frustrating, but I think that there's an important thing to note here is that Facebook does not have the ability to violate the First Amendment. That's something that only the government has the ability to do. And, you know, your freedom of speech is guaranteed within the Constitution, is to prevent the government from overstepping their boundaries. And when it comes to the use of Facebook in this case, because we're using multiple platforms and we're not restricting ourselves purely to Facebook, it's one of many broadcasting methods that we're using to get the word out, remind people to get online. And I think that, you know, Joe makes a good point. We do use Zoom, and that use of Zoom pretty much nullifies the idea that you don't have access just because you don't have access to Facebook. So Facebook's been an extremely useful tool for us to get more people involved. And I would say that, you know, if we're concerned that this platform's not the best, then I think the best avenue would be for us to find other platforms, not to eliminate this one, at least not immediately.
So, can I go? Are you finished, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so I just want to echo what Mayor Pro Tem Burris is saying. I really feel like I'm not really sure exactly how many people are viewing, but at one point I looked at it and there was like 900 views. And I think that that's important. And I feel like people that are on Facebook, you know, feel like a lot of people can't come into the meetings when we're having them. So I really feel like this is a useful tool. And I understand your frustrations, Councilmember Fatula, you know, on the whole social media platforms and things that are happening. But the number one thing that we're trying to do is bring transparency to what we're doing as a council. And I feel like, you know, having the Facebook live feeds, you know, more people can be a part of that. And I don't really feel like there's as much bickering or chattering going on that I feel like people are feeling like they're hearing things now, you know, except for our seniors. I still worry about our seniors. And, you know, that's something because they're not on social media platforms. I think we need to be a little bit more vigilant about certain items being in the newspaper or whatnot to make sure that they're the people that read, you know, can, I don't know, we're in a new age of technology. So I'm really happy with what we've started here, you know, under the unprecedented situation with the pandemic. Unfortunately, you know, we had to go to these things. I really look forward to us all being in the chambers again. But again, you know, I just want to echo with Mayor Pro Tem Burris. I really feel like this is a good thing. So that's all I really have to say.
All right, thanks, Marnie and Trinity. David, did you have any comments?
Yeah, whereas I agree with Joe on the, you know, hey, you know, if you can access Facebook, you can access our Zoom meetings. You know, actually, Marnie hit it right on the spot. I mean, transparency is what it comes down to. I know it's much easier to view via Facebook than it is via Zoom. This community really supports Facebook. I do agree with Joe that it's unfortunate that some people get banned for various reasons. I'm personally not a Facebook fan myself. I don't use it intentionally. And but you know, if we do benefit from gaining more transparency, which we do with Facebook, I'm all for it. I don't think we should exclusively use Facebook. Maybe there's some other social, I mean, I know there are other social media platforms out there that could be used as well. But Facebook, I mean, I haven't tallied it, but if someone said 900 views or whatever, that's pretty significant. That's a solid amount. So, you know, I'm okay with us continuing to use it.
This is Joe. I just like to make one final comment on this. So if we're gonna stay with Facebook, I would strongly recommend we pick a second platform and do the same thing on something like MeWe or one of the other platforms that doesn't have this restriction in place, because then nobody is left out.
Joe, I absolutely agree with you. And I too don't like the things that are being, you know, where the people are being singled out. So I do like the idea of MeWe. You know, like I said, if we can get transparent, wherever we can do that is great. And so we need to make sure that all voices are heard and that they all can hear us. So absolutely.
Can your interim city clerk make a comment?
Sure.
Because you're already on Zoom webinar, you have the capability there to live stream to Facebook, which is what you're doing, but you also have the capability to live stream to YouTube. And if you create a YouTube page for the city, or if you already have one, you could stream to the YouTube page, and viewers don't need to have an account to watch YouTube.
I was just about to say, that's a great point. YouTube is definitely the other platform that I would recommend as well, if we're gonna have a second one.
I actually thought that we had a few of those that were streaming. Mayor Pro Tem, can you remind me of that? Because I pretty much, I thought we were on the, what is that cable?
Yes, so we do have, before COVID hit and before everything broke out, we were using a service that was basically streaming us to multiple platforms, including, you know, the city website and YouTube. And I think briefly Facebook before everything kind of went into lockdown. And so pretty much kind of the intent was to go back to that when we come back in person, you know. And that's the thing too, I kind of want to emphasize, is we have the ability to stream over multiple platforms, and there's nothing preventing us from including more platforms. I just don't feel comfortable taking away platforms.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the understanding I was under, is we had different ones that were streaming, including, I want to say I remember YouTube being one of those, but correct me if I'm wrong. And I know Wave Broadband was something that a lot of the seniors watch.
Well, I know for sure that we are currently recording to YouTube, and that's kind of where we're hosting all of our videos at, and where our link from the city website goes to. So staff would be glad to kind of do some live streaming on multiple forums if council wishes. It's not a problem.
So can I make a motion on this that we then get staff to look at an alternate platform like MeWe in addition to this?
Yeah, I'll second that.
And I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Great. So we have a motion.
MeWe.
So we have a motion and a second to have staff investigate additional platforms to use with our Facebook link.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And specifically MeWe, because a lot of people have left Facebook and went on to the MeWe. So can we investigate, you know, how we can get those people back?
Yep. Great. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Sure. Councilmember Mendoza?
Aye.
Ackerman?
Just for clarification, is the motion, quote unquote, specifically MeWe?
No.
No.
It just find an alternate. Yeah, if it's find an alternate, then yes, aye. Ackerman,
including MeWe.
Yep, aye. Thank you.
Burris?
Aye, and just clarifying that the aye is that we're talking about an additional platform, not an alternate. It's additional.
Yes.
Yeah, I have the motion.
That was the motion.
More platforms, including MeWe. So.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Amy.
Absolutely. Petula?
Yeah, I'm an aye for this. If it includes YouTube and MeWe, I don't care if it includes others, but we're hitting like 99% of the people that way.
All right, and
Mayor Lohman.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, that rounds out that item. So we move on to item 10, good of the order. Joe, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so earlier this week, a bunch of us as part of the council business went down and toured the Fireworks Farms cannabis facility in Sacramento. And then after that, Sean and I went up and toured the property that's the proposed site they have. So I put out 2 reports. I just sent them over to Wes that summarizes both of those things to at least the best that I know, along with pictures, so people can see the conditions of the different things where the condition was important to look at. So I hope that as we get to our next meeting, that everybody gets a chance to see that and read it. And then if you have any comments or changes, let me know. I'll make sure I'll revise it so it's technically correct. And that took pretty much the whole day. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Joe. David, do you have anything further go to the order?
Yeah, I just want to, Joe, thank you for doing that. And thanks for taking the time to do that. Unfortunately, I was unable to do it. I was actually able to drive by that location after the fact and before this meeting. Just again, thanks for taking the time to do that. The only other thing I have is just want to thank you, Sean, and Chief Estes for last week. They gave me a tour of the local fire stations and learned a lot. And I just really appreciate everything that you guys do and your teams do for protecting the county or the city. So thank you.
Did you get a chance to go up on Mount Howell, the lookout?
No, that was offered to me, and I definitely that's a rain check, and I definitely am going to take Chief Estes up on that offer.
Yeah, that is a very worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go up there, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get your chance here soon.
Yeah, cool. The only advice I give you is don't look down while you're going up.
Okay. All right, I'll remember that.
All right. Thanks, David. Marnie, do you have anything further go to the order?
I'm the only thing that I can really think of. I don't know why this just keeps popping in my mind. When I served as Mayor Lohman, one thing that I really wanted to get to, and I wasn't able to because we were so focused on the pandemic. We were so focused on, getting the generators in here for the, just everything since I got on council has been just crisis, public safety, crisis, all of that. And one thing that I wanted to do as mayor is I wanted to talk about and see, I would like to give recognition to employees and to organizations in our community. And I don't really know how we can do that, but, I'd like us to look more into incentives, or not incentives, but just some type of recognition of these hard workers. Colfax is a great city. We have so many hard workers and our community is great. I just like to acknowledge some of those people, and I never really got a chance to do that. So going forward, I'd just like to see some of the leadership, whether it happens this year, because we're still stuck in COVID, but I want to get to the good things, and the good things are recognizing these hard workers. A lot of us put in time, volunteer our time, the hours, like you guys said, it took all day for that one specific item. I'm just so grateful for everybody in Colfax, and I'm really happy tonight. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Thanks, Marnie. Pretty happy too. It's been a busy, good day, but good. All right, Trinity.
I don't have anything for the good of the order tonight. Thank you.
All right, thanks. I just had one thing. So I know everybody, or I heard everybody might have got an email from the California Cities from Local Control Group. That one of the council members out of the city of Torrance is heading that up. They sent out a draft resolution that basically says that our city thinks the state legislature is moving too far and too fast with some of their zoning regulations and the changes they want to make to how we design and build our cities. Would anybody be interested in taking a look at a draft resolution to pass? And as ceremonial as it may just be, I'm not sure how much weight we're going to hold against stop of the state from passing whatever laws they want, but would anybody be interested in maybe taking a look at a resolution on the next council agenda and seeing if we want to pass something like that.
Yeah, is that with the league?
It is a different group from the League of California Cities.
If you guys want, I can zone in on that. Unless somebody else wants to, that's fine too. Whatever you guys want to do.
That's fine. Now make sure you have the draft resolution. I sent the information to Wes. If everybody's kind of in agreement, then maybe we can move forward with that.
Yeah. Did Wes send out what you have to everybody? I don't think I got that.
The Torrance council member sent the initial email. I sent it all to Wes, and I'm sure Wes can forward it off to everybody again with his
and if
thoughts.
he can just get a consensus, and you guys, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll make sure like tomorrow I'll have that email forwarded out to all the council so they can see it.
Okay, no problem. All right. Didn't hear
Mayor
any
Lohman,
objections.
can I interrupt really quick? I wanted
Please.
to just go back to item 9C. We had missed a couple public comments on that during the item that were received on Facebook, but they really, there was nothing in opposition. They're all in support of your final vote. The main point is not to subtract, not to take Facebook away, and to only add platforms instead of remove. So just wanted to mention that the public was speaking on that.
Yeah,
Great,
they're
thank-
listening. And how many was there? I'm sorry.
There was
how many?
4.
4. Yeah. See that? I mean, that's huge. So thank you, Amy.
Yeah, we do get a lot of interaction through Facebook, and thank you very much for catching that for me. I appreciate that.
It was thanks to Shanna, but yes, no problem.
Thank you, Shanna. Definitely always watching out for what I'm doing wrong. All right. That was the only thing I had for good of the order. We had no other questions or comments. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. No
Aye.
objections?
No, nay.
All right. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good
Well
night.
done, Sean. Bye.
Thanks.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.